Well, it's Thursday morning and I'm slipping out here. I was walking through here yesterday just for a nice little walk with my lady. Today it is my breakfast. Wow, you know, I like to have an al fresco meal at least once a week if I can help it. Sorry about the camera being a bit wobbly. Yeah, it's great. It's a lovely morning. The hot weather has now passed, and it really was hot. I mean, it was so hot on Sunday I actually decided not to go out because it was just too warm. And this should be pleasurable, not a chore. So, got some nice comments, and we're having some commenting on the comments a little bit later on. Just seen a slug doing a sluggy thing, devouring the leaf litter and recycling. Each little critter, whether it's a mosquito, slug, rabbit, hare or deer, all adds part to the circle of life, and each has its place. Though I do question mosquitoes, because they're little buggers that make you itch. Anyway, I'll be back in a bit, and I'm just going to pan round so you can see Alfie, my lovely little dog, and Woo. Yep, there we go. It's a lovely morning. These woods are beautiful. Maybe even catch a deer. Here guys, there's a sulphur polypore. Well, we all know what this is called. It is known as chicken of the woods, and I'm so in fact I'm gonna pick some of this and I'm gonna cook some up with my breakfast. Boy, what a find. It's wild edible time. Also very tasty. Watch out for foul language. Right, if you really want to piss me off, this does. The wanton destruction of a rather nice and young sweet chestnut tree. Okay, we've got loads and loads of sweet chestnuts, but this is not needed. I shall have to trim it up later. And this. Now, funnily enough, most of this firewood here I'd actually stashed in a corner, so that's burnt, but there is no need for this. It echoes the Native American saying of white man makes a big fire and sits far away, while the red man makes a little fire and warms himself. This is no need for this. As we all know, because I know you guys do no trace fires, we all know there is no need for this. It's a scar on the landscape, and it just breaks my heart, because you know it just shows complete disregard for the environment. And I'll probably post this up on the fossil website as a bit of a complaint. Anyway, there you go guys, what not to do in the woods. Right guys, well you've seen this already, the chicken of the woods. Next door to it there is a Carmina pratensis, or lady smock, which I'll be having in my egg sandwich. I'll come across there a tea bag without tea in. Strange you may think, but these are bore empty and you fill your own tea in. Today my tea of choice will be pu'er, which is rather nice, a really strong nice tea. And of course some bread, not bacon, this is a Bavarian Black Forest ham, really nice. I shall give it a quick flash in the out pan and put it in a couple of ordinary eggs. So basically I've got a chicken there and I've got a chicken there. Weird, that one doesn't cluck, that one would have clucked if it was allowed to go to full maturity. I'll see you in a bit guys. There we go folks, My chicken of the woods cooking. Never really tried this before. Last time I saw a really big bunch of it, we weren't allowed to pick it because we was on this course and fungi were a no-no. I do understand the reasoning why. Anyway, I'm going to do a little bit of mild edibles in a bit, just a sort of heads up and what to do. It's the Camino looks quite nice. I had some earlier. Just when I was picking the flatheads. Where I picked this from, it was so abundant. They haven't cut the grass, and it's so abundant that you could actually pick a few without decimating the population. A bit more of that in a minute, but this looks quite nice. And give it a few more minutes just to cook through. I'm going to put the lid back on, keep the moisture in, and wow, it looks quite scrummy, doesn't it? Well guys, the eggs are slowly cooking. That is my chicken of the woods, and I can see how it gets its name. It's very meaty looking. It actually looks like little bits of yellow chicken. You could almost say it's corn-fed chicken. Right. Very meaty. In fact, I would even say, I mean, obviously this is going to sound rather stupid, but it actually tastes like mushrooms as well. But it's very meaty. Another one to add to my list. Always be careful, folks. Be 100% sure with your fungi. Could do with a little bit of salt maybe. I'm going to dig that out, and I'll be back to you in a while with a few thoughts and a chat. Well, I'm slightly off centre. I'll move around a bit. That's it. Oh, it's still off centre. Second brew. Tea bag thing. Got some more pu'er. Lovely tea, this pu'er. Excellent breakfast. Chicken of the woods, I highly recommend. A little bit of salt and pepper on it, went down very well. Unfortunately, the cardamom pratensis, or the lady smock, got a little bit lost in the flavour of the egg, but it wasn't too bad. There was a bit of crunchiness there, and a nice, that very, very subtle hint of cress and pepper. As I said, it got last, and the Bavarian black ham, very tasty. I ate it as is. I have it cut very thin. It's something I can get from work. Work is actually this new store that I'm in. The ethos here, the company ethos, is good food for everybody, and they're doing some really good stuff. It inspires me to get out here more. Oddly, I mean, because I make really, really good bread. The bread that I've been making is excellent. It's a new line and it's proper bread. Long fermentation, using these rather than that. But anyway, I digress. Well, as I said, chicken of the woods, scrumptious. A pointer as regards fungi, and I've said this before, and every time I mention fungi or eat fungi or film fungi, I will no doubt mention it because it is so important. If you wish to consume it, you have to be 100% sure. If you're 99% sure of eating fungi of a particular species, you don't eat it, because you make that one mistake and that could be your last mistake. It is apparently a very, very good and tasty fungi. It's death cat, but a week to a fortnight after consuming it, you're feeding the worms. So let that be a warning. Don't want to sound too patronising. It's just, thank you for the comments. I'm sorry guys if I've not commented lately on videos. I've had so many to catch up. It's taken me a good while just to catch up on the videos because I have so much going. I get in from work and I'm a bit knackered, a bit tired, and I often doze in the afternoons, as my lady would probably state. The axe course that I went on, brilliant. Everything I've learned on that is filtering down now. I'm in the process, and I shall be doing a bit more of that later in the video, of making a beetle, which is like a donk. It's for hitting the top of the axe or a throw or a knife. I've found a piece of sweet chestnut. It's just about the right size, and I've just started work on it, you know, while the kettle was boiling. It was, you know, it's actually starting to look like a mallet. It's basically a mallet. For my English buddies, and well, anybody, but primarily the English and my German friends, I have on my PC 2 video files which are very, very good. One is Yogi Sundqvist Swedish carving techniques. That's about an hour long. And the pièce de résistance, the video that I've been after for a long, long time, and I just came across it quite accidentally, is Alone in the Wilderness by Dick Prenecki and Bob Sears, I think. Bob Sears did the filming, and it's the first year Dick Prenecki going to live in Alaska. He lived there for 30 odd years. He went out there when he was 51, and it was 81 when he had to come back, and that was due to ill health. A couple of years later, he passed into spirit. As a video, it's very inspiring. It shows you what true bushcraft is. It isn't gadgets, it isn't fancy gear. This guy builds a log cabin and he lives there for 30 years. Minimal tools. It's great. There's been some weird things going around the forums. One was, in fact, I had to block the guy in the end, and it's all to do with WD-40. He was insisting it was an oil repellent, and everybody else basically insisted it was a water repellent. WD stands for water displacement. 40 was the 40th formulation. It's petroleum based. Great bit of kit. He said it wrecks bike chains, but I've been using it on bike chains for as long as I can remember, and that's a long, long time. But he's out of my forums now, so you know I blocked him because basically the guy was just an idiot. He's the bad side of he's the dark side of bushcraft. Anyway. Thank you to all you guys and to all the subscribers. I don't have many, you know, I haven't got that many subscribers. I've only got about 250, 280 subscribers. And I don't get a lot of feedback a lot of the time. Whether these people just subscribe and have a look, I don't know. You know, but trying to keep up with the feedback can be difficult at times. I have a few favourite guys that I watch, you know. There's Mike in Canada, Roosevelt in Michigan, obviously Sandy, Adam, Mick, Tim and Sepp, and loads of others. You know, sometimes it can be real difficult keeping up with this, as I've been wittering on about. I would say, Mick, don't worry about that postage and packing. It's negligible. You've got a really good piece of kit there. Well, I hope it's good and I hope it serves you well. Don't worry about that postage and packing. You know, it's of no consequence. I took far too long in sending it up to you. And to you, Tim, I hope you enjoy the spoon, and I hope you enjoy the spreader. And I'm glad you like the designs I carved on it. I've got to get back into carving, and it's one of them just jobs, you know. Oh, I think I'll just get around to it. next week maybe. And love the knife, Sandy. Really nice looking piece of kit. I suppose we all bring our own little edge to bushcraft, if you excuse the pun. I mean, I'm not much into making knives, and blacksmithing isn't my thing. I want to get more into tanning and doing buckskins, but it takes a bit of a setup. I'm more into wild edibles and wild food. It's a great thing. Oh, that's a woodpecker taking the mickey. Yeah, and as regards wild edibles, I'm glad some of you people find it interesting. I'm going to try and do something a little bit different on that. You know, it's difficult trying to convey stuff sometimes over a video. You know, it's like I'm surrounded by all these wonderful trees, and each tree has a purpose. Each tree has an individual character. You know, oak is hard, makes wonderful firewood, but also carves really well. And it's important if you're rehanging an axe, because the spiny oak produces a wood that's really tough and hard. Birch, wonderful tree, provides you with so much. You know, the young leaves in the spring you can add to a salad. The bark can provide you with containers. It can provide you with a medium to make fire. The wood and timber itself you can carve into bowls, spoons, chopping boards. Good quality, dead standing birch can act as a fireboard. The leaves, as they progress through the year, contain high amount of saponins, so you've got yourself some backwood soap, and it actually works quite well. I've used it. Back to the oak, you've got the acorns that you can eat. Sweet chestnut, good carving wood. Bark can be used to make containers, and of course it produces sweet chestnuts, which are very yummy, very tasty, and high in protein. But there's so much out here, we take too much for granted. For the majority of us, this is our hobby. This is what we like to do. We're not too far from civilization most of the times, but we have the knowledge that if push does come to shove, we can actually look after ourselves. And I think for the most of us, it is being self-reliant. You know, it's nice to be out there and to actually fall back on oneself. There are times when you need to work in a team, particularly when hewing trees down, but we don't have to do that all the time. Chopping trees isn't part of this. I consider myself a woodsman, and you can chuck in a bit of the coastal and a bit of the moor on that, but you know, I'm primarily an amateur woodsman. There is so much I would like to do, I just don't get the time. Back to the wild edibles. As you've seen in my last few videos, I seem to know my greens quite well, which I do, but I don't pick an awful lot. And it's, for me, it's a moral and ethical thing. I can go to the supermarket, or actually I can go to where I work, which is a supermarket, and I can feed myself quite well. But out here, out in the woods, from the tiny little pill bugs and wood lice up to deer, the squirrels, the birds, they all rely on what's around here more than we have to. And okay, I did take nearly about 90% of that chicken in the woods, partly because that's all there was. I've never had it before, nor has Avalon, so we'll be chomping on that later. I've left enough to grow back and for other beasties to feast upon it. Yeah, it's good. I mean, harvesting wild food, and you've also got to remember, when you're harvesting wild food, you've got to think about the balance, and it's the balance of, if you're harvesting, you've got to expend as fewer calories as possible. I can take burdock root. It's a high calorie piece of starch, really good, but you have to expend a lot of calories digging it out, because invariably it will grow in the hardest of grounds. Now, if you spend 25 calories harvesting 75-100 calories of food, it is a good expenditure. But if you're doing it the other way around, you're expending 75 to 100 calories of energy to get 25 calories of food. It just doesn't add up. You will starve. But you know, that's you. And on that, great books to get is Food for Free, which you can actually get as an e-book now. I've got it on my. I've got about 4 editions now. I've got the very first one that ever come out back in 1972. I've got another edition which I bought some years ago, which is updated. I've got the 40th anniversary edition, which is a hardback, which is quite large, and that's more an indoors book, coffee table book. And I've recently bought a Kindle because I've got an awful lot of bushcrafty PDFs, and I've got it on there as well, plus a load of other bits and pieces. In fact, the Kindle in many ways is proven to be quite a useful tool. Got some lovely books. My darling Avalon, she bought me Flora Britannica by Richard Mabey, and I think it's co-authored by Monty Don. That deals with plants, trees and herbs around the UK, and that's a companion to Bugs Britannica and Birds Britannica, also dealing with the subject of bugs and birds, and it's quite interesting. I was reading about flukes and flatworms the other day, quite interesting actually. Makes your skin crawl a bit, but it's good. Other than that, there's not a lot going on. It seems like there's a lot going on. I used a Trangier to cook up breakfast today. It's efficient, I like it, and it's great. I've got some trips planned. I'm hoping to go I'm definitely going back up the lakes later on in the year, and also up to Scotland. There'll be 2 more visits to the lakes. One's a foraging course. It's the autumn harvester that deals with anything that moves, basically, squirrels, pigeons, rabbits, pheasants. Maybe we'll have some venison, I don't know, but definitely be fungi on the menu, which I'm looking forward to. I want to learn at least another 3 more fungi. My list is quite long now. It's difficult, you know. You want to add more to your list, but you've got to be really careful about how you identify the fungi. Make sure you're spot on, as I mentioned earlier. Also, there's a trip up to the lakes in November. It's a one-off workshop with the Conivers. These are people from Maine, a couple from Maine, and they're expert in Northwood skills. We'll be making crook knives, maybe doing another axe helve, which I should take up my little axe with me to be rehelved, and maybe my Kemp pattern axe head. I don't know yet. I'm having trouble sourcing wood for that, and maybe a paddle. But it's great, you know, talking to people that deal with the Northwoods. My take on this is, I come from Northern Europe. Okay, it's England. Our woodland is different to, say, like you get in Africa. I have a passing interest in what goes on in the drier climes of the world, but that's just a passing interest. I live here, and this is my environment. I love it. It's great. It's such a mixed woodland. I'm not just going back to the foraging bit. When you're foraging, it's the woodland margins you want to look for your food, not in the depths of the wood itself. Because where I am here, I mean, all you've got growing is holly thicket, sweet chestnut, oak, and the understory is basically leaf litter with bracken. You will be hard pushed until the autumn. You will be hard pushed to find anything edible here. It's always on the rides, on the edge of the rides, and on the margins of the woodland itself. Anyway guys, I've wittered on enough, and I shall catch you in a minute. I'm going to finish my tea, and then I'm just going to do a couple of short sequences on making this beetle. I shan't finish, might finish it off here, I might finish it off at home. I don't know. Anyway, speak to you soon guys. Well, this needs a bit of tidying up at home. I'm going to square the end off, either end off, and then chamfer it round a bit so it doesn't fray. There's a bit of a split in the wood, but that's no mean thing. It's going to do its job. It's just for splitting wood and banging on the top of throws. Should make the handle a bit smaller, and basically it's going like that. Also, for Stone Age man, it was his prime method of getting a wife, I would suppose. Well, anyway folks, there it is. That is what is known as a beetle. A donk, a mallet. Avalon's dad used to use these. He used to make his by drilling a hole in it and putting a handle in. It's a bit narrow bit of sweet chestnut, but this is from one piece. What I am going to make next time is a mallet. There's still some. I've just got to find a piece good enough for the handle, but there's enough sweet chestnut lying down, seasoning, to cut a piece off and to make a small mallet with, and that comes in useful for other woodcrafty things. But there you go, and all done with an axe. In fact, I didn't even use a saw in this. I bucked it and took the bark off it. Still need a bit of bark coming off, and there you go. Anyway guys, that's your beetle. Very useful tool for the backwoods.